All right, we're going to get started. Thank you everyone for coming. This is the TAG Workloads Foundation inaugural KubeCon session. My name is Stephen Rust. I'm a principal architect at Akamai Cloud.
My name is Yuan Tang. I'm one of the co-chairs for TAG Workloads Foundation.
Hi, I'm Rajesh. I work at Broadcom, doing all things Kubernetes there, and I'm one of the tech leads for TAG Workloads Foundation. For anyone who's attending this for the first time or have attended TAG runtime sessions, Workloads Foundation, after the reboot, is kind of a mix of TAG runtime and TAG storage. So, yeah.
And I'm Alex Scammon, the head of open source engineering at G-Research.
Awesome. So I'm also one of the tech leads here at TAG Workloads Foundation. Marlo, unfortunately, could not make it today. She had flight issues just last Friday. So we miss her, sadly, today. But Alex has gracefully stepped in. So this is our quick agenda, really talking about what is a tag, what TAG Workloads Foundation does, the types of community activities we do, and then really the most important part is how to get involved. So what is a tag? So TAG technically stands for the Technical Advisory Group within the CNCF. It's an official CNCF organizational body. And really the point is to support projects and scale what the Technical Oversight Committee can do and accomplish. The TOC really oversees all of the CNCF technical contributions, and the tags really extend those capabilities because it's a huge, broad ecosystem. So really supporting the CNCF mission across the board. And really the goals there are very project focused, so the tags interact with projects, existing projects, as well as identifying gaps that may exist to spur new initiatives or new communities if possible, and really provide that technical expertise for those projects and help the projects also go through the project maturity lifecycle from, you may be familiar with, from sandbox to incubation to graduation. And this is the scary slide of what is in the project landscape today. And this is why we must scale the contributions and why tags are here, because each one of these projects slots into one or more of the tags. And you can see some of the scope and focus across the tags. TAG Workloads, that's us. We're in the middle there. And even then, it's still a broad range, but it allows the communities to focus on those specific areas and not have to deal with every single piece of technology. So some of the main responsibilities and activities of the tag is to really, again, reach out to projects, engaging with those communities. This is oftentimes the first time a project has engaged with the CNCF is through the tags. We have open community meetings where anyone is welcome to attend and contribute or talk about their project or try to get awareness and contributors and so forth. The tag also provides a domain technical review. The tag is like one domain, so those categories we just talked about. And then we sponsor initiatives as well as sub-projects. Initiatives are things such as white papers, and sub-projects are specific communities in an area of focus. And again, all the meetings are public and everything is in the open. For those domain technical reviews I talked about, this is a new organizational initiative that came out last year to really standardize the way all of the different tags review and set guidelines for projects as they go through the different project maturity phases. So you see like sandbox or incubation or graduate, there's different criteria along each of those ways. And the tags and the communities in those tags help evaluate and provide guidance to those projects as they go through. And just a brief mention of the restructuring. So as this time in the spring, there were 8 tags. There are now 5. And those are the 5 listed there. And that really, this is an ability to set the CNCF and the tags up for the next 10 years, really, to scale the contributions and to get people to become involved and really better align with the current state of tech. As the initial tags were many years ago, we've now needed to realign on the current kind of scope of the landscape. So if you want to read about more of the motivation for the reboot, some nice QR codes. We're going to have various other QR codes interspersed throughout the presentation here, but this gives a lot of the background for why the reboot occurred. And now we're moving forward in our new form as Workloads Foundation.
Okay, so what is TAG Workloads Foundation? So in simple sentence, it is which one?
It's this one.
Okay. Oops, I'll just use the computer.
Yep, sorry.
Okay. So TAG Workloads Foundation, basically, we try to help define and advance best practices and standards for running fundamental cloud-native workloads and their execution environments and their lifecycle management within the cloud-native ecosystem. This is the current scope of the tag, ranging from containers to CI/CD and model serving, batch scheduling, and so on. Yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty long list and a pretty broad scope. So this is where we really need more community members to help and drive some of these best practices and so on. If you have an expertise in any of these areas, you feel free to join us, and we'd love your contributions. So what's out of scope? Obviously, anything that's not mentioned in my previous slide, and also any end-user directed activities and initiatives are not covered in this tag. And another obvious one is like anything not within the cloud-native ecosystem, or there's a definition for that. If you do want to know more about it, we'll share the slides later so that you can easily click it and see the details. This is the current leadership of the tag. As I mentioned earlier, this is not like a single person group. We really welcome more contributors to participate, and Rajas will talk about it more in this presentation. And I'll hand it to Alex.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about some of the other groups or setups within this new restructuring. First I'll talk about is sub-projects, which are groups that are related to the talk or to a tag that can continue a conversation. These are meant to be long-lived projects, long-lived conversations that need some place to go beyond just a tag or the talk. You can imagine that the talk or the tag need to be able to scale in much the same way that we did this restructuring to scale the overall structure. This is one of the ways that we can scale a tag or the talk to take care of other conversations. The other part is that these are a recognition that a lot of these conversations come from the community, and that we need to involve more people in than just the talk or the tags to do stuff. So sub-projects are the first of these structures, long-lived. There can be sub-projects attached to the talk directly. There can also be sub-projects attached to any of the tags that you saw listed earlier. If you want to create a sub-project, you can create a new issue. Just go to this link. One of the sub-projects is one that I happen to run with aforementioned Marlo, who was going to be speaking here. This, just as an example, is a conversation that has been running for 4 or 5 years now where it's a different style of workload than Kubernetes is normally or has traditionally been used for. We have a conversation with a whole bunch of batch scheduler makers and industry players and academia people. It's a very cross-cutting conversation that needs to continue for a long time. And within that, we have taken up various initiatives. I'll talk about that in just a second. But we've done things like create our own landscape that gives somebody trying to get into batch on Kubernetes a place to go, so just a landing place for somebody who's new to this conversation. What is out there? These are some of the things that we've done. And we have other initiatives that are, I'll talk about initiatives generally, but these are 3 initiatives that we are undertaking as part of that sub-project. The talk will have a tag, and then the tag will have a sub-project. That's our batch sub-project. And then we are taking on these 3 initiatives. We're moving these 3 things forward. Just as an example. Another example of a sub-project is for the talk. There are some long-running conversations around security reviews and auditing like, new projects being incubated and things like that. Those are also sub-projects. I mentioned initiatives a few times. In contrast to a sub-project, which is long-lived, initiatives are supposed to be short-lived, and they're supposed to be focused on a specific objective that is time-bound. You want to write a white paper, you want to create a standard, that's an initiative. And any of the previous structures could initiate an initiative. The talk can have initiatives, a tag can have initiatives, a sub-project can also lead initiatives. Here's an example of one that I mentioned earlier. It's an initiative that had started in another tag that the batch working group has just taken over. And part of this whole structure is to allow for things like this to happen, where what we don't want to have happen is really good work by the community that's sort of meandering off and never ending up finishing. By providing some structure here, by saying, hey, we're doing this initiative, we're writing a white paper, giving it some visibility, finding more people to rally around these initiatives, we hope that we will actually get to the end of some of these initiatives. So this is one that has undergone that transformation, started in one place, we did some restructuring, we've now taken it over in the batch working group, just as an example. Here's another one. The Cloud Native Foundation for Distributed Agentic Systems, yet another initiative that's taking place. Distributed agentic systems, super on the minds of a bunch of people, but it's probably not a conversation that that needs to happen for 10 years. There needs to be some thought leadership gone into white paper standards, and then the conversation hopefully will come to some sort of a conclusion. There are a bunch of initiatives. You can find the full list of them at that link and the QR code. I just threw, I don't know, 10, 15 of them down on this slide here. But there's a whole bunch of different things here. Mostly they're white papers and standards. So, trying to spread the word, trying to lay down the state of certain ecosystems, that's very likely what an initiative can be, just as some examples. Again, if you want to propose an initiative, here's a link. You can go and, if you're moved from some conversation that you're having at KubeCon this week, please let us know. There's one last structure that we have created that doesn't yet have a representative group, but there are community groups which are similar to sub-projects in that they are long-running conversations, but they aren't sort of directly influencing TOC activities, but we hope to be able to engender community groups to have those the kinds of conversations that you might be having around KubeCon this week, giving them a place to go that is somewhat structured, that we can give resources to as part of the CNCF, but that aren't, what would you say, sort of like official, necessary parts of the the mechanisms to move things through sandbox to incubation, but there is still a place for community work like that to happen. It's a recognition that this is and always has been a movement of the people, of communities coming together and wanting to work together. That rounds up the community section of our restructuring.
Yeah, the community groups are really a formalized way to have like a meetup type of structure through the CNCF. So not part of this tag in particular, but the platform engineering community group, for example, is like that nice meetup type of structure. So definitely open to new community group applications as well. And again, really this brings us back to projects, which is what it's all about, right? And we wanted to really highlight the, I'd say, long and extensive effort by the projects to get through a lot of these milestones. So in particular, the graduation of graduated projects is sort of the last step in that maturity milestone. And really, it takes a long road to get there, and you must prove really a maturity and sustainability of the project, have a real thriving adoption in the community with users or corporations or whoever's using it. There's governance involved within the project, having their own governance structure, and then a strong, diverse community, especially across different maintainers, for example. So your maintainer is not from one company, it's from multiple companies, and that really becomes a requirement at the graduation stage. Yeah, so graduation is sort of a big deal, and you'll see announcements at the keynote this morning, for example, and all the way along. Projects really celebrate and should celebrate these types of milestones. So we wanted to call out just the set of projects that sort of intersect with this tag. And just as a point, if you see a project here, it doesn't mean it's exclusively within this tag. It can cross multiple tags as well, based on the scope of that project. So again, following the themes of TAG Workloads Foundation, continuous integration and delivery, Flux and Argo, of course. We cover database as well. So Vitesse, I think, was one of the longer-lived projects they mentioned at the keynote today. Older than the CNCF itself from when it started, which is crazy to think about. Many different scheduling and orchestration projects. Kubernetes itself being the very first graduated project within CNCF. And then down the road to Crossplane over there, which just got graduated 2 weeks ago even. Container registry is another area of focus. Harbor is one of the a number of years ago now, and Dragonfly just graduated as well at the end of October. Container runtime, our former TAG runtime namesake, sort of. We're all familiar with the different kind of core runtimes, Containerd and Cryo. And that concludes the graduated highlight. Incubation is the step before graduation. And incubation is actually one of the more difficult things to achieve within the project maturity lifecycle, because there is a significant due diligence process to get to incubation. So the more difficult step is sandboxed incubation rather than incubation to graduation. So this is really a significant milestone for a lot of different projects. And again, a lot of the same themes with documented adopters and neutrality, vendor neutrality, starting that life cycle of how the project is built and delivered, and really focusing on healthy contribution. So these are the current set of some of the incubating projects that intersect this tag in one way or another. A lot of scheduling and orchestration initiatives. Kubeflow was mentioned again as well, part of the keynote this morning. The OS container runtimes, virtual machines, and so forth. Lima was just incubated last month, again, just in time for KubeCon. And then at the OS level, when we talk about OS in relation to Workloads Foundation, it's really about the special purpose OS, like immutable operating systems, which is where things like Flatcar come in. Kserve, a new sort of CNAI or the serving category, also recently incubated with a significant milestone. And WebAssembly is covered by Workloads Foundation as well. WASM Cloud is one of the initial projects that has made it to incubating in that category. Oh, yep. Over to you.
All right. Okay, so we've had an introduction to TAG Workloads Foundation, a deep dive into what it involves as our responsibilities and day-to-day activities. But how do you get involved? What's that process like? So quick show of hands, anyone who has been a part of a TAG or is a part of a TAG. All right, so we have a few folks over here. Any of the folks wanting to be a part of a TAG? Cool. All right. Okay, so this is just a contributor ladder that we have for Workloads Foundation. And I'll kind of walk you through what it means to move all of these phases or move through all of these phases. So we have a bi-weekly meeting. And if you join those bi-weekly meetings, you technically join the TAG Workloads Foundation. You hang out with us on the Slack channel, TAG Workloads Foundation on CNCF Slack. Join our meeting. So that's step one. What goes in those meetings is we have projects presenting to us. These projects may be projects outside of CNCF wanting to be part of CNCF, or these can be projects that fall in the purview of TAG Workloads Foundation within the levels of sandbox, incubation, graduation, moving through various levels and want to present to the TAG. So that's sort of how the meeting goes. It's pretty open. Most of the time, the projects will present the architecture, what it involves, what's their roadmap like, and get some feedback from the TAG leads. As a contributor, what we need help with is to reach out to these projects. If you think that there is a project that should be part of TAG Workloads Foundation, then you kind of reach out to us on Slack and say that, okay, maybe this project should be part of TAG Workloads Foundation, and then we can redirect you to actually open an issue on that project's repository and then ask them to present at one of our meetings. So that's what it entails to reach out to projects. The other aspect is to contribute to the initiatives. What are these initiatives? So some of the things that we talked about earlier, domain technical reviews, helping out with going through all of these domain technical reviews for sandbox, incubating, and graduated projects, helping out with the reviews, getting involved in white papers. As of now, we are running or shepherding some white papers on the scheduling challenges for AI/ML workloads. We are running shepherding the white paper for distributed agentic systems. While the contributions may range from giving an input on a specific section of that white paper, a specific perspective, whether from an end user perspective or a maintainer perspective, or a certain set of opportunities or challenges or ecosystem strategies, all of these things kind of fall in that purview. The other aspect is shepherding the white paper. Getting everyone aligned on the goals of the white papers, keeping the content of the white paper in scope, running a time-bound series of meetings so that the white paper goes through the process of satisfying the goals of it, the set of reviews, and then eventually helping it publish with CNCF. So that's kind of the life cycle of a white paper that we usually have, and we need help with each of these stages. Yeah, so contributing to these initiatives, helping lead these initiatives. So the next step, once you shadow a lead to contribute to these initiatives or provide your inputs to any of these initiatives, the next step is to actually lead them. This can be leading a particular domain technical review for TAG Workloads Foundation, leading a particular white paper for TAG Workloads Foundation. Some of the other things that we need help with is helping us staff the booth that we may have for TAG Workloads Foundation at KubeCon. And once you go through each of these stages, you can eventually run for, like, say, the TAG co-chair election or the TAG tech lead election based on your interests. And that kind of paves your way through all the different stages as a contributor to Workloads Foundation. So if any of this interests you, hang out with us on the Slack channel, and then we can take you through each of these stages. This is where we meet. You can scan the QR code to get the invite for the meeting. And then you can get the links to the mailing list, initiatives, the Slack channel, and the agenda for the meetings that we run. So first Wednesday of every month, that's where we hang out. And that is it. Thank you so much for coming to the TAG Workloads Foundation meeting. I'm going to leave it at this screen so that you can probably scan it. And I think we are good to take questions.
Hello. All right. Hey. Yeah, so I had a question about this. You mentioned, like, there are some realities, like a project may be multi-tagged, right? Like, and then there are other things that may, like, not neatly fit in CNCF or no longer fit in CNCF. Like, for example, like Kagent is a CNCF project, but it depends on Agent Gateway, which is an LF project. And are there other things, and I know, like, there's an AI dev thing in LF as well, which has different things that might actually categorize into workloads if they were in CNCF. Is there anything in, like, the LF level that, like, tags in CNCF or these other TLPs or subgroups of LF that have overlapping, sometimes same developers, that, like, you know, a guild, like some secret meeting, or like how's that work with this reality?
Yeah, there are no secret meetings, but there is LFAI and Data Foundation, and there may be a project that kind of aligns with LFAI and Data Foundation as well as CNCF. And then we kind of work through to make sure where it fits the best. I think Kserv was an example. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Every project is different. So I guess for Kserv's case, like, we want to be closer to the cloud native community while still keeping the existing integrations with all sorts of AI frameworks. So we, as a community, we just ended up, like, deciding moving to CNCF to be part of the bigger family that works closer with us.
I mean, was that, like, in your case, I'm just curious, was that like a competition, like,
Yeah.
there's somebody in TAG and they're like, hey, you'll get a free CNCF pass, or, like, if you go AI dev, you'll get some passes there. Like, I know I'm just making kind of like a joke of it, but, like, how does that happen? Like, the kind of like that decision making, whether this should be, you know, in a, like, TAG workload versus, like, you know, maybe you should be your own TLP in LF, or, like, does that end up being a decision that you all make, or is it, like, sort of is there another tag of Linux Foundation that's above the CNCF tag? I just don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything specific to
okay.
that. Like, I mean, like, it's an open community, so everyone's opinion matters. we have existing working groups and other like tags. So anyone's welcome to join the meetings and discuss any collaboration ideas between communities. So there's no like king making in like we're not supposed to king make like on any and bias towards any solutions. So yeah.
Okay.
Hope that helps.
And just the other part is that the interaction or the tag kind of involvement is also voluntary and optional in a sense. It's not a requirement to come to a tag and be blessed by a tag in any way.
Oh, okay.
It is.
So you could just be like your own satellite, and that's that, right?
Yeah, like it's helpful. It can be helpful. You know, it's an avenue for that community involvement. But to work through the levels and get to incubating, you know, there's guidelines that the TOC sets. It doesn't require the tag to be involved necessarily, but it can be helpful for projects that want to engage that way.
Cool. Thanks.
And I think we're out of time as well, so we will stick around if you have further questions. Otherwise, thank you very much.